After 20 years, I finally sat down and played the legendary F.E.A.R. And I have gotta say, even 20 years later, this game had me on the edge of my chair just waiting to be jump scared. And today I want to talk you through what it was like to play this game now, again, 2 decades after the hype. I'll talk about the build up to release, why F.E.A.R was considered so far ahead of its time, how the atmosphere constantly had me anticipating scares, the little subtle touches that still hold up today, and the way the game forces you to scrape by, always on the hunt for armor and health kits. And of course, I'll go through the story, the lore, and that unforgettable ending. So first, I want to go back to 2005 because I vividly remember this game being everywhere. It was on multiple different magazine covers. It was on the top headlines for PC Gamer and GameSpot, IGN, all these different publications. And I just remember the buzz that this game had, especially revolving around the revolutionary AI that this game was going to have. And Monolith, the developer, promised enemies that didn't just run at you, they flanked, they used cover, they called out tactics to each other, and they actually retreated if they were outgunned. And on top of that, the game's slow motion mechanic, officially called reflex time, was marketed as the perfect fusion of like a John Woo gunfight and the Matrix. It wasn't just flashy, it was tactical, letting you manage fights where you were outnumbered. And then there was the horror angle. The trailers leaned heavily into the supernatural element with a ghostly little girl in a red dress who looked straight out of The Ring. The hype had people convinced that this was going to be the scariest shooter ever made. And I remember even at that time just thinking, wow, this does sound like the perfect game. It's got amazing AI that the game's going to have housed in it. It's going to have horror. It's a first-person shooter back when they were really starting to come out of their shell in 2005. And I knew that even though I wasn't going to play this game, it was 1000% going to be living rent-free in my brain, because a year later, this game came out on the Xbox 360 back in 2006. And I just remember clicking that little Xbox button to view my friends, and it was just F.E.A.R, 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 F.E.A.R. All of them were playing it. And even though I had that feeling of like, there's just no way I'm going to be playing this game, because again, I at that point never played a horror game, and I wasn't going to start with supposedly the scariest one up to that point. And I still felt like I was missing out on something, even though I was going to have a terrible time playing it. So finally, I braced myself for outdated graphics and clunky controls, but honestly, the atmosphere holds up shockingly well. The first thing that hit me was the lighting and the shadows. Everywhere you go, you can actually see your own shadow moving in real time, reacting to different light sources. And it doesn't really sound too crazy now, but it's such a small detail that adds this eerie weight to the game. The environment still feels alive, even though it's mostly empty hallways and offices. And then I always mention this in my previous videos or past videos that I've done. Sound design is so massive to me in a video game. I think sound design on its own can make or break a video game. And in F.E.A.R, you'll hear whispers in the distance, random creaks and groans of buildings, and you're constantly waiting for something to happen, which is almost scarier than what actually does happen. And I will say that is one negative of the game that I do want to point out. I think I had so much hype, 20 years worth of buildup for this game, and definitely about 2 or 3 hours into it, I was like, where is the scariness of this game? You know, Alma has showed up maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's always been in the distance where I wasn't really afraid of what was going to happen. Because Alma doesn't just randomly show up all the time, the game keeps you in this state of an anxious anticipation. You're constantly waiting for something to happen, which is, again, almost scarier than what actually does happen. And then you've got environmental storytelling layered in on top of that. Bloody walls, flickering lights, ghostly visions. Even when there aren't enemies around, the game keeps you tense, constantly second guessing what you're about to see. Now, on top of the scare and everything else, the environment, the sound design, the game does throw you into combat a lot, and that combat honestly is pretty fun. The gunplay feels amazing even now. The slow motion effect isn't just this gimmick, it's the perfect way to appreciate how dynamic firefights can be. When you activate reflex time, you see drywall explode into dust, sparks flying off metal, you see blood spraying up in the air in slow motion. And I do have to say, the reflex time is something that really does actually help in the game. It again isn't just this gimmick that is just there to click, but there were times where I would die 5 to 10 times in this one section, and I finally remembered, oh wait, I have this reflex time that I can click and make it so much easier. And after using it, I could get through that fight, that same fight that I died 5 to 10 times on, get it done one try with the reflex time. And besides this little quote unquote gimmick for the slow motion effect, the weapons themselves have real weight to them. The shotgun is devastating, shredding enemies in close quarters. The penetrator is unforgettable, literally pinning soldiers to walls. And the assault rifles feel tight and accurate, giving you some room to experiment with different playstyles. But what really holds up, to me at least, is the AI. These soldiers don't just run at you in a straight line. They work as an overall unit. They flank, they use cover intelligently, they flush you out with grenades, suppress you with fire, and call out your position to each other. There were moments where I actually had to retreat and rethink my approach, and that's not something most shooters today even manage that well. And it's wild to see how sharp it feels even 20 years later. And speaking of retreating, this game really does make you fight sometimes for survival. There are no regenerating shields. Instead, you're always on the hunt for health packs and body armor. Every encounter has the potential to chew right through all of your resources. And if you walk into the next fight with 25 HP and no medkits, you're gonna be in trouble. That scarcity keeps the tension pretty high. You don't just fear Alma or the occasional supernatural encounter, you fear the next group of soldiers because you know they can shred through you in seconds. It's this constant balance between a powerful action hero in slow motion and a fragile human desperately scraping by. And then I of course have to talk about the story because it is pretty unique. You play as the point man, a silent protagonist with these heightened reflexes, which explains your slow motion ability. You're sent in to stop Paxton Fattel, a psychic commander who's gone rogue and is controlling an army of cloned soldiers. On the surface, it sounds like a straightforward sci-fi shooter. But as you dig deeper, you uncover the real horror. Through laptops and phone messages scattered around levels, you piece together the corporate conspiracy behind Armacam Technology Corporation. And Alma Wade, the little girl haunting you, was the test subject. She was imprisoned, tortured, and abused to weaponize her psychic abilities. The deeper you go, the clearer it becomes that your mission isn't just about Fattel, it's about Alma. Her torment is at the heart of pretty much everything in the game and the reason the world around you is completely falling apart. And the final act is where everything comes to a head. Armacam's facility is collapsing, Alma is breaking free, and you finally kill Fattel. But then the twist drops. You discover that Alma isn't just some random experiment. She's your mother. Point Man is her child, and Fattel was your brother. Everything you've been experiencing ties back to that one horrifying family connection. The climax is chaotic. A nuclear explosion rips through the facility and Alma survives. And just when you think it's over, there's that infamous final moment in the helicopter. Alma suddenly lunges up into the frame. Even though I knew it was coming, I still jumped, and it's such a simple, brutal scare, and yet it works perfectly as the curtain drops. And after completely playing through F.E.A.R, it's very easy to understand why this game was so ahead of its time. You have the very impressive AI for 2005. You have the FPS action section of it. You have the horror aspect of it. You have just this crazy storyline going on while everything is happening. So I get it. I understand why there was so much hype behind this game. And again, I can't believe it took me 2 decades to finally beat. I do want to go and play the second one because I heard the second one, kind of like how Dead Space 2 does to Dead Space 1, it just kind of takes everything and improves upon it. And now, sure, the environment can get repetitive. You spend a lot of time in similar looking office spaces and warehouses, but that almost adds to the oppressive feel. And the quality of the encounters more than make up for it. So with all of that, after 20 years of waiting, was it worth finally playing F.E.A.R? And the answer is so easy. Absolutely. This isn't just a relic of 2005, it's a reminder that atmosphere, detail, and smart design can outlast those flashy graphics and trends that we see today. And if you've never played it, I genuinely do recommend giving this game a shot. Play it late at night, turn off the lights, put on some headphones, and let it get under your skin. But thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. But if there's a game on top of your mind that you think people have either forgotten about or it's just simply no longer talked about anymore, make sure leave that game in the comments below, and maybe you'll see a video of it in the future on this channel. But make sure to hit that sub button, hit that like button, and hopefully you guys come back for more. Peace out.